Shalom, good evening. This is TV7 Israel News, broadcast to you from Jerusalem. And in today's top stories, Israel aims to deepen its military pressure on Hamas, vowing to ensure that the terror group will never govern the Gaza Strip. The European Union Foreign Policy Chief Josep Borrell fails to garner support from EU member states to end the European institutions' dialogue with the State of Israel. The United States urges the international community to double down on pressuring Hamas to agree to a hostage release deal in exchange for temporary cessation of hostilities. Israel will deepen its military efforts versus the Islamist Hamas with unrelenting focus aimed at preventing the terror group's aspiration to maintain its governing capacity in the Gaza Strip. In a tour of the central part of the enclave, alongside Defense Minister Israel Katz, IDF Chief of General Staff Lieutenant General Herzi Halevi, and ISA Director Ronen Bar, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu also emphasized that Israel continually does everything in its power to return the hostages back home.
אני נמצא כאן בחוף הים של עזה עם שר הביטחון, הרמטכ"ל, ראש השב"כ, עם מפקדינו וחיילינו הגיבורים שעושים כאן עבודה נפלאה פה במרכז הרצועה, בכל חלקי הרצועה. הם השיגו תוצאות מצוינות ביעד החשוב שלנו. החמאס לא ישלוט בעזה. אנחנו מחסלים את היכולות הצבאיות שלו בצורה מרשימה מאוד. אנחנו עוברים ליכולות השלטוניות שלו, ועוד היד נטויה. החמאס לא יהיה בעזה. אנחנו גם עושים מאמץ מהמקום הזה בכל מקום לאתר את חטופינו ולהשיב אותם. אנחנו לא מרפים מזה, ואנחנו נמשיך לעשות את זה עד שנשיג את כולם, החיים והחללים גם יחד. ואני רוצה לומר לאלה שמחזיקים את החטופים שלנו, מי שיעז לפגוע בחטופינו, דמו בראשו. אנחנו נרדוף אתכם ואנחנו נשיג אתכם. ואני אומר גם לאלה שרוצים לצאת מהמבוך הזה, מי שיביא לנו חטוף ימצא דרך בטוחה, הוא ומשפחתו, לצאת החוצה, ואנחנו ניתן גם תמורה של $5 מיליון לכל חטוף. תבחרו, הבחירה בידכם, אבל התוצאה תהיה אותה תוצאה, אנחנו נחזיר את כולם.
Defense Minister Israel Katz, for his part, echoed the Prime Minister's remarks while further asserting that Israel will not cease its operational activities until its war objectives are achieved.
המשימה החשובה ביותר שכולם רואים אותה כאן זה לחלץ את החטופים הביתה, ולמען זה נלחמים כאן ועושים את הדברים ולהכריע את החמאס. אנחנו צריכים לוודא שהחמאס לא ישלוט כאן ביום שאחרי. לכן קרו כל הדברים ולכן הם יקרו ואנחנו נשלים את המשימה הזאת.
Earlier in Brazil, during a statement by outgoing President Joe Biden at the G20 summit, he stressed Washington's leading role in providing approximately $4 billion in humanitarian aid to separate regions of need around the globe to include the Gaza Strip.
Gaza, as I've said before, Israel has the right to defend itself after the worst massacre of Jews since the Holocaust. But how it defends itself, even as Hamas cruelty hides among civilians, matters a great deal. The United States has led the world in humanitarian aid to Gaza. And we're going to keep pushing to accelerate a ceasefire deal that ensures Israel's security, that brings hostages home, and ends the suffering of the Palestinian people and children. I ask everyone here to increase the pressure on Hamas, which is currently refusing this deal.
Following those remarks, which were also echoed by outgoing Secretary of State Antony Blinken, State Department spokesman Matthew Miller highlighted the Biden administration's anger over a phenomenon of looting of humanitarian aid by local Islamist and crime syndicates in the Gaza Strip.
And the people who are looting humanitarian assistance for their own ends are taking food and medicine out of the hands of civilians, including children who need it, incredibly desperate people who need access to this food, and anyone who is stealing or diverting humanitarian assistance for their own profit, for their own gain, is quite obviously harming their own people, and they should stop immediately. That's the first thing that I think needs to be made clear when it comes to looting. Second, when it comes to looting, so what we have seen is a breakdown in the security situation inside of Gaza, and there are a lot of reasons for the breakdown in that security situation. And what we are trying to work through is with the IDF, with COGAT, with the relevant UN agencies to find solutions to get more security assistance delivered to the people that need it.
It is important to explain that the majority of those crime syndicates are operated by no other than the Islamist Hamas. After they loot the incoming trucks from all of their goods, Hamas then, alongside its terror affiliates, blatantly sells the goods to local Palestinian population in need, making significant profit. And while the Islamist Hamas manages to maintain control over much of the enclave via the looted goods, the Palestinian truck drivers are evidently complaining over the growing danger to their lives.
هناك العديد من بضائع المساعدات توجهت لقطاع غزة من عدة معابر، أولها معبر طول كرم ومعبر ترقوميا، ومن الداخل الفلسطيني عبر معبر كرم أبو سالم. للأسف بعد دخول هاي الشاحنات لمعبر كرم أبو سالم، وهي عددها حوالي 150 شاحنة، تعرضت لعملية سطو مسلح يبعد عن معبر كرم أبو سالم مسافة لا تتجاوز كيلومتر. طبعا احنا بنكون هاملين هم السائق اللي جاي الغزاوي اللي جاي يحمل هاي البضائع، وهي بضائع مساعدات وليست بضائع تجارية. يعني بيكون طالع وحامل شهادته بإيده إنه إبصر يرجع على بيته من زعران وسارقي هاي البضائع وعصابات المسلحة المتجهة إلى قطاع غزة.
It is worth highlighting that while the Islamist Hamas continues to reject any outline for a resolution to the Gaza Strip, while holding 101 hostages captive for over 410 days, alongside hurting the Palestinian population at large, the EU's outgoing foreign policy chief, Josep Borrell, who is a vocal opponent of the State of Israel, was eagerly trying to convince EU member states earlier this week to take measures against Israel using unsubstantiated narratives as well as data provided by the Hamas-run health ministry in Gaza to back his own position.
Apocalyptical situation in Gaza, where 70% of the death toll is being paid by children and women. 70% of the casualties are children or women. In Lebanon, 100,000 houses destroyed. In Gaza, 2 million people from one side to the other of the strip. The most frequent age of the casualties in Gaza is 5 years old. The most frequent age of the casualties in Gaza is 5 years old. This is a war against the children.
Thankfully, the outgoing EU High Representative for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy failed to convince the 27-member bloc, with the vast majority of EU member states rejecting Borrell's personal aspirations to target Israel. Turning to the Red Sea, where the Iranian proxy Ansar Allah, which is dominated by the Houthi tribe in Yemen, has once again launched an attack against a cargo ship in the strategic waterway.
انتصارا لمظلومية الشعبين الفلسطيني واللبناني وإسنادا للمقاومتين الفلسطينية واللبنانية، نفذت القوات البحرية في القوات المسلحة اليمنية بعون الله تعالى عملية استهداف لسفينة أنادولوس في البحر الأحمر، وذلك بعدد من الصواريخ البالستية والبحرية المناسبة، وكانت الإصابة دقيقة ومباشرة بفضل الله. إن القوات المسلحة اليمنية تؤكد استمرارها في فرض الحصار البحري على العدو الإسرائيلي واستهداف كافة السفن المرتبطة به أو المتجهة إليه أو التي تتعامل معه، وكذلك استمرارها في استهداف العدو الإسرائيلي بالصواريخ والمسيرات، وأن هذه العمليات لن تتوقف إلا بوقف العدوان ورفع الحصار عن قطاع غزة ووقف العدوان على لبنان.
It is important to know that the Iranian proxy blatantly lied about successfully targeting the civilian vessel after the cargo carrier ignored calls by the Houthis to turn around and leave the Red Sea. The ship's captain reported that a missile splashed in close proximity to his vessel as it traveled in the southern Red Sea near the strategic strait of Bab el-Mandeb. Thankfully, no injuries or damage were reported. Thank you for watching TV7 Israel News. I would like to encourage you, pray for the peace of Jerusalem and salvation of Israel. Moreover, if you're blessed by our productions, which are exclusively donation-based and as such broadcast free of charge, please consider making a donation. You can do so via our website at www.tv7israelnews.com. I'm Jonathan Hessen, wishing you an Erev Mevorach, and God willing, we will see you during our next update. Until then, Shalom from Jerusalem.